of going out for a pickup game of football or catch filled me with dread. I was skinny, undersized, nearsighted, and so pale that after an hour in the sun I'd be the color of a tomato. Mainly what I liked to do was read and play computer games. But seeing as we had one computer for all 5 of us and half the time Mama wouldn't let me go near it, mainly what I did was read. But there wasn't much time for reading, or much of anything else, once Gabriel Keyes came barging into my life, where he lodged himself as permanently as a brick. That was the year I was in 4th grade, and he was in 5th. Even then, he was this huge kid, awkward and clumsy, with massive arms and legs, jiggling all over like he was filled with water balloons and skin the color of apple juice. And could he talk? The thing with Gabriel was, once he got going, there was no stopping him. And once he decided that you were his friend, you were his friend forever. That's how it was with him and me. It could be downright embarrassing to be seen with him, especially when he got to talking and wouldn't stop. Truth was, and we all knew it, something was off about him. Like maybe instead of a brain inside his head, he had a busted hard drive. Kids said he was stupid, but that wasn't it. For one thing, even back in elementary school, he'd use all these big words like pontificate and laparoscopic. Also, when it came to numbers, he was like a walking calculator. But then he'd go and do the stupidest stuff, like when he wrote, "I love you, Mrs. Rutledge," on top of his social studies paper and had to be sent to the school counselor. Or when he decided to stage an experiment to see if different colors weighed different amounts and poured a bunch of different colored paint out the second-floor art room window at school to see which color hit the ground first. "That boy is 100% stupid in the head," kids would say. Me, I figured that Gabriel was like a big old dog, with his own kind of doggy smartness, and his tail either wagging or stuck between his legs. Anyway, like I was saying, one day, Gabriel just kind of appeared, moving into that old house with its sagging roof and peeling paint. Before then, he'd been living someplace in New Orleans, only Gabriel didn't say where or talk about why he'd moved or why he lived with his auntie instead of his parents. I felt sorry for Gabriel, living the way he did, in that tiny little house with his tiny little auntie and no pets or even a single geranium in a single pot to cheer things up. But Gabriel didn't seem to mind. "Home's where the heart's at, stupid," he said. "And anyway, it's just me and Auntie in our nuclear family unit. Plenty of room for us both." "How are you related to your auntie?" I asked. "Because you sure don't look like her." "We look alike inside," he said, pointing to his heart. "And that's the sworn 100% truth of it." Gabriel was only 1 grade ahead of me in school, but he looked like he was 3 years older. Kids at school used to make fun of him like crazy. But then, a year or so after he and his auntie moved in, he started to grow, until he was this huge kid, almost 6 feet tall and heavy-set. When I was with him, I knew no one would ever mess with me. Even so, my mother didn't like him. She said he wasn't being raised properly, that every time she saw his auntie, she looked like she'd been drinking. "You don't have to have a lot of money to live decent," Mama said. "People always have a choice." But I didn't know how Mama could tell whether Gabriel's auntie had been drinking, because the fact of the matter was that none of us ever saw her, not really. She worked nights, and when she was home, mainly what she did was sleep. Or at least that's what Gabriel would say. "Nah, man," he'd explain when I'd knock on his door to see if maybe we could hang at his house. "Not here. Auntie's sleeping. She needs to metabolically maximize. That means optimum slumber." Then he'd shut the door on me. Lila, who was then in her senior year at Spring City High, had heard that Gabriel had seizures, and that's why he was bad at school. Me, I didn't know one way or another why Gabriel was the way he was. Why he either talked a mile a minute or acted like he didn't know how to speak English at all. But I did know that it had something to do with where Gabriel had been living before he and his auntie moved in at the end of the block, and not something that had happened after, which was another thing folks said. "Fact of the matter is that boy drank too much of his auntie's Budweiser and it destroyed his brain cells, made him funny in the head." Or, "He got sick and had a high fever and his brain got infected, and when he got well again, his mind was all scrambled."
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.